Alright, and welcome to my garage. I wanted to take a little bit of time to first of all introduce you to the project that I'm going to be working on and tell you a little bit about why I chose to go with this project for my build. Basically, I've always had a 2.2 crawler, and that's where I got started in the hobby. And I found that there's been a lot of limitations with a 2.2 crawler. Sure, they look pretty good, you know, with the Lexan body, and the performance is real good and they crawl real well. But when you shoot them for video, the video doesn't always turn out as well as you would think, because you can see a lot of the wires. The Lexan tends to be pretty thin. You know, it doesn't look real scale. It's not real pleasing to the eye when you're shooting the video. And you know, if performance is the only thing you're going for, the 2.2 crawler by far is the way to go. But I've always been intrigued by the guys that would build the scale crawlers, and I always thought that was kind of a cool hobby to get into. The limitation that I always had with trying to get into a 1.9 scaler or a true to scale 1/10 crawler is that they never really offered a true CJ7 Jeep body that was really good. The closest thing that I ever saw was that a lot of guys on YouTube and a few guys in the forums would take the Tamiya 1/10 scale Wrangler body, and they would carve up that body and add the parts to make a CJ7, which essentially is just the hood, the front clip, the round fender flares, and they would replace the tailgate, and they could get it looking close enough to a CJ7 that it would pass. And a lot of guys did a really good job doing that, and I've seen a few on YouTube, and like I said, in the forums, a few of those actually look pretty good. But for the man hours involved and the time, it still didn't look good enough. So that was always my holdback, and I always wanted to make a scale 1.9 crawler, but that was the limitation that kept me away from that. That all changed one day when I found on one of the scale crawler forums a gentleman from Italy named Giuseppe. In his workshop there in Italy, he had come up with a conversion kit to transfer a 1/10 scale Tamiya Wrangler into a CJ7. He basically offered all the body parts to the kit that you would need to do a direct conversion. And you know, those of you that know a lot about Jeeps know that a Wrangler is essentially the same as a CJ7. The body tub is standard through and through. The only things that change are the parts that I talked about before. So this gentleman in Italy built molds for all of the different parts to convert this thing over, and he sold this conversion kit in all different pieces through all different levels of detail. So that there alone made it possible to do exactly what I was looking to do, and decided to go forth with the project. So the first thing I did is I purchased my 1/10 scale Wrangler body. You know, I found it on eBay. I think it was like 40 bucks, and that's going to be my starting point. Alright, and then the second choice I had to make was what kind of frame was I going to run, and what kind of suspension, and all of that. Now my goal was that I already had a 2.2 crawler. I was going to try and save as much of that as I could to convert on to the 1.9 scale crawler to save money. I was thinking I could do this for around 300 bucks. No way. Impossible. So I decided to go with the SCX10 frame, and as you can see, I kept the stock 2.2 crawler axles in there, the axial 2.2 crawler axles, the SCX10 frame. I'm going to have to end up to shorten the frame. I already know that because the CJ body doesn't fit on there quite so well. The frame hangs out in the front and the back. The other thing too was I had to do a lot of measuring and geometry with the links, the 4-link suspension, to shorten the wheelbase so that it would fit within the Tamiya body that I'm going to use. So I ended up having to order all those links custom off of eBay. I had to cut a few of them. I had to build some shims and get that all going. Now a lot of you are going to ask, how come you're using a 4-link setup instead of a leaf spring setup? You know what, I went back and forth with it. You know, I just stuck with the 4-link for now for simplicity's sake. You know, I know that they do offer a leaf spring conversion kit for the SCX10. I know it's kind of pricey, and that might be in the cards in the future, because I'm probably going to have to swap out the axles as well down the line. But for now, I'm leaving the 4-link setup with the regular shocks in there, and that'll be that. The shocks I bought, they're the 90mm shocks from RC 4-wheel drive. They're just coil spring shocks. There's no fluid in them. There's no dampening that I know of. It's just a straight up simple shock, and hopefully the 90mm will get me the lift that I want for my project. Aside from that, that's pretty much it. So I have a rolling frame using the stock axles, the SCX10 frame. Got the shocks. I've got all the hardware in there. And then as you can see, my wheel and tire choice, it's a long story, and that'll probably have to be another video, and I'll get into how I got those ordered. Those are custom made from Canada, and as you can see, they don't look like they're bead locks, but they actually are. The rim is a split rim. It comes in 2 halves. It's actually bolted together to the brake rotor, which fits right on the end of the stock axle, and then it's got the fake Warren hub lock nut that goes on the outside to make it look real. So there's where I am at so far. Thought I would just update you to that point. As you can see, I'll be working on this quite a bit now. I have ordered the parts from Italy. They're on their way. So as soon as they arrive, I'll start that process of converting the body over from a Wrangler to a CJ, and I'll keep posting updates of that process so you guys can see how that goes. And hopefully within the next month or two, I'll have this thing up and rolling, and I'll be able to put all the guts back in, and you guys will be able to see the progress of that here in my workshop. Alright, thanks a lot.